But now let's take a step back and ask why. Well, we know that Abel was a shepherd, and Cain, where did he work? Right, in agriculture, in the fields, in the he was raising plants like we do here at the farm. I'm not such a specialist at it, but Shane is very good. She grows from seed, and we have loads of green peppers and red peppers. You'll see them when you come out here. Anyways, and it wasn't a coincidence that these were their professions, because Abel was a righteous man, a spiritual man, and so he picked the profession that Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and David and the forefathers of Israel picked, because it's a profession that lends itself to spirituality. So as you all know, Jeremy and I, we talked about it just now, we've been taking up shepherding. And thanks to many of you, we're building up our flock. And one of my shepherding shifts is Shabbat afternoon, yesterday afternoon, from about 3 p.m. to 6:30, 7 o'clock ideally. It's 3.5 to 4 hours that you're out there with the sheep. It's actually a really beautiful, meditative way to spend Shabbat afternoon. And now that I'm getting into it, I've been experiencing the spirituality of our forefathers from thousands of years ago, and really connecting with them in a way that I've just never connected with them before. And as I'm out with the sheep, I identify with them. And I found myself humming every time I'm out there with the sheep. Kianu tsonecha v'ata ro'enu. You remember this? We talked about this on the Day of Atonement. It's the words from the Yom Kippur davening. Kianu tsonecha v'ata ro'enu. For you, we are your sheep, and you are our shepherd. That's what those words mean. We are your sheep, and you are our shepherd. And as I was looking at the sheep, I felt like we may be giving ourselves, or I may be giving myself too much credit with that comparison, because these sheep, they just implicitly trust me. They trust the shepherd. They don't decide where they're going. They just trust the shepherd. And when they get to their destination, which they have no part in deciding, and they don't question it, they just look around and see what's around, and they just start to enjoy their food. Right? King David said in Psalm 23, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, God is my shepherd, I shall not want. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually wrote that when he was out with his sheep, but if not, it definitely came from his experience shepherding. I just don't know if I'm as good a sheep to my shepherd as these sheep were to me. Sometimes I find myself second guessing and wondering and not able to be fully present. Anyways, so Abel had time to pray and to reflect and meditate as a shepherd. And as a result, he came to love God with all of his heart and offer God the first and the best of his flock. And right before I left shepherding to go out, we sat down to eat lunch, and me, Shayna, and Dvash. And now I know a lot of parents, friends of mine, that complain that they just can't get their kids to eat. Well, let's just say that we don't have that problem with our little Dvash. She is like her Abba. She likes her food. And when she gets hungry, she lets us know about it. And yesterday she was hungry. And so we sat her down and put some chicken and kugel on her plate. And then for some reason, right before her first bite, I said to her, Dvash, can Abba have a bite? I said, Dvash, can Abba have a bite? And I saw her eyes look at the spoon and look at the kugel and then look at me as she took a moment to think. And then she said, Abba. And she extended the spoon towards me, scooping it into my mouth. And my heart was just so filled up with love for her, like it was going to explode. Because I know what that means for her. My little girl, I know what that bite means for her. It would have been understandable if she gave me from her second bite. That would have been really nice. After all, she's just a baby, but the first bite when she was so hungry and with a smile on her face, I'll never forget it. I'll always carry that with me. And that's how Hashem must have felt when Abel gave his first and his best. But Cain, he didn't give his best. But it wasn't just his offering that was flawed. And I'm still sort of working through this idea. Rav Kook talks about this. Rabbi Sachs talks about this. It wasn't just his offering itself, the external offering. It was what was happening inside. It was his deepest motivations. It was what was happening in his heart. Consider that you wanted to give an offering of love to your beloved. And you're gently rebuffed. You're refused. And they refuse to take it. Now, if your desire was truly to express love to them, then you become introspective and you seek to understand where you went wrong so you can offer them your gift in a way that they can receive it, in a way that they want to receive it. But if you could become depressed and angry and hostile, it exposes that your desire was not truly to express love, but as Rabbi Sachs explains, to put them in your debt, to create a certain relationship dynamic, to assert your control over them by offering a bribe to placate them, which has been the relationship dynamic to pagan gods throughout history. This bribery and manipulation of their empty gods of wood and stone that they bribe with different sacrifices that mean something to them. And in return for that, they're saying they want to acquire dominance or power or control, but that's just the opposite of what Hashem's desire is for our hearts. So Rav Kook points out what should be obvious, that the fact that Cain would so violently attack his brother so soon after offering this love offering, it just shows that he went into the experience with this evil already alive within his soul. It was in him while he offered the sacrifice. And to sacrifice to God with a heart filled with hate is an abomination that just could never be accepted. If there's one thing that history has taught us, it's that Hashem is disgusted by hypocrisy and empty actions. He seeks our heart more than anything else. As the masks are coming off and much of the world is turning not only against Israel, but yes, against the Jewish people, if you feel different, if your love for Israel is growing deeper and stronger, if you're thirsting to cleave to the nation of Israel and to the God of Israel, if you're thirsting to learn authentic Torah from Jews in Judea, then the Land of Israel Fellowship is for you. Hundreds of individuals and families from around the world come together on Zoom every week in what can only be described as a fellowship of love, friendship, of learning and praying and belonging. A fellowship really unlike any other. It's more than just a movement, it's a family. To learn more about the Land of Israel Fellowship, click on www.thelandofisrael.com/fellowship or send an email to fellowship@thelandofisrael.com. Love and blessings from Judea.